Well, we seem to have had a pretty major problem. I haven't talked about this one yet. My brother had come down to visit us, and he helped a little bit. And we discovered, after I had installed all the fuel injectors, that the vehicle would not start. It was still doing exactly the same thing. It'd crank, no start, but would start with the starting fluid. So we knew there had to be a problem between the fuel filter and the fuel injectors. So we pulled the fuel injectors out and pulled the fuel regulator out and pushed isopropyl alcohol through the fuel line after the fuel filter and forced it through the rail. And we got a lot of rust debris. Here's the towel. You can see the debris that was picked up by the towel underneath the fuel rail openings. Quite a bit. Of course, it's now, since that point, I had other things to do. I didn't get back to it right away, and it's probably been 2 weeks. And now inside the fuel rail, I've got flash rust probably. Basically, it's just a dusting that has formed. So what I'm going to do is probably something quite a few people are going to cringe at, but just to get rid of the majority of this dust and kill the rust, I'm going to push through some evapor rust rust remover, non-toxic, biodegradable, etc., etc. And I'm going to push it through and let it sit in the fuel rail, in the fuel line overnight. And then I picked up a gallon of 99% isopropyl alcohol that I'm going to push through whatever amount it takes to come out nice and clean. And then at that point, I'm going to reinstall my newly cleaned fuel injectors. What you see here are the original fuel injectors. Every single one of them had been kludged up from moisture, contaminants, debris, etc. from the truck sitting, unfortunately, too long. I had not used any additive in the fuel tank, and just the never-ending rain that we had here for a period of time, and the fact that the truck had not sat, coupled with the broken stud on top of the gas tank and the fuel pump gasket misaligned, so it was not sealing at all, and the overflow tube going up to the fuel nozzle was not attached. So all those things allowed quite a bit of moisture to get in. So of course I have replaced the fuel filter itself once before we tried to start the vehicle, and I'm going to replace it one more time after I clean out the fuel rail here. And what I did here on the old ones, on the old fuel injectors, which are now operational, I put an O-ring on the top, and then I just cut up some rubber gloves, put little miniature injector condoms on top of them. So I'm going to use these to stop up the openings for the fuel rail, forcing the evapor rust to come out through the regulator opening. And then I'm just going to leave them in place and let it sit, like I said, overnight. And then I'll leave these in place one more time, and I'll shove the isopropyl alcohol through. And then at some point I'll probably clog this up, remove the end injector, and force it through each opening individually as best I can until I get to a point that I can install the new injectors. And that was the other problem. After installing the new injectors, we had tried to start the engine, and fortunately we then clogged up the new injectors, or at least 75–80% of them. So I bought a if you saw the previous videos, I bought a ultrasonic cleaner and cleaned them multiple times and shoved pressurized cleaner through them. So they're all operational at this point. But instead of putting the originals, even though they are working, I'm going to go with the newer ones, and I'm going to keep these as a backup. I'm going to say that ultrasonic cleaner was worth its money. It was worth the spend. It was $86. I used it probably continuously for about 4 days, hitting these injectors in increments of 10 minutes. Then I bumped it up to 6 minutes, then up to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, etc. After each time I would test them. And I also had a pulse tester, so I could send a continuous pulse through the fuel injector solenoid as I was sonic cleaning them. And got 8 of them out of 16 to come back to life. And then the remaining 8 I had to gently tap with a hammer while they were being pulsed, and that freed up the solenoid. And then of course after that point I put them back in the sonic cleaner, ultrasound cleaner, and then pulsed them while they were being cleaned again. And so each one has been pulsed, cleaned, and flow checked at least 3 times. I'm still getting quite a bit of crud out of them. The last time, of course, it was just a combination of all the injectors and looking in one bottle. So maybe it wasn't so bad with each one, but I can see a very plain 4 spray pattern coming out of each one. No intermittent spray, just nice and firm. Solenoids are operating good. Of course, they're all, the ohms check is, resistance check is good. So here we are. This is round 2. More to come.